In our money lead, President Trump is now trying to distance himself from any financial ties to Saudi Arabia, tweeting today, quote, "For the record, I have no financial interests in Saudi Arabia or Russia for that matter. Any suggestion that I have is just more fake news, of which there is plenty." You'll notice the specific language there. The president said he has no financial interests in Saudi Arabia, which of course does not mean he doesn't have Saudi financial interests in the United States, which he bragged about on the campaign trail.
Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
Of course, the U.S. looking the other way from Saudi human rights abuses long predated the murder of Khashoggi or President Trump. And if you're wondering why Saudi Arabia has been able to get away with it for so long, well, just follow the money. Mr. President, you may not have financial interests in Saudi Arabia, but you certainly have them with Saudi Arabia. In fact, financially driven friendships have fueled Saudi's influence in Washington for decades, lining pockets of Republicans and Democrats alike from K Street to Capitol Hill and beyond.
They have lobbyists that'll contact your member of Congress on the Hill. They have public relations firms that'll contact big media outlets on their behalf. So wherever they need influence, they have it.
Avi Asher Shapiro from the Committee to Protect Journalists named names, tweeting out foreign agent registration records from former Reagan official H.P. Goldfield, from a former staffer for Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, and even from Norm Coleman, a former Republican senator from Minnesota turned lobbyist, among others. And just before Donald Trump visited the kingdom on his first foreign trip as president last year, the Saudi government hired 3 U.S. lobbying firms near the White House. One made up of former Trump advisors, receiving annual compensation of $5.4 million, according to federal records.
One of those goals is to make sure that arms sales keep flowing from the U.S. to Saudi Arabia. Another is to make sure that the U.S. turns a blind eye to a lot of civilian casualties that are being experienced in the war in Yemen. Other issues include domestic human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. They want U.S. policymakers to turn a blind eye to.
Of course, it's not just the government, it's the president's private businesses as well.
Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
Now relationships with one of the world's largest oil suppliers are being put to the test, as sources say the regime prepares to acknowledge Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed in Turkey. Saudi officials will continue, of course, to come to the United States, and they have plenty of places to stay. The Saudi government purchased the 45th floor of Trump Tower back in 2001 for $4.5 million. Although, more recently, Saudi lobbying firms spent more than $250,000 at the Trump Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. The road to the White House, after all, is familiar territory for the royal family.
What we found in our research is that the Saudis do a great job of hiring lobbyists who make campaign contributions to people who can get things done they need to get done. In fact, we found several instances where lobbyists made campaign contributions to folks on the exact same day they were contacted by